Rate limiting requests allows us to limit the amount of HTTP requests a client can make in a given period of time. This helps preventing brute force password attacks, DDoS attacks, and protect upstream servers from being overloaded. For example, we can easily spam an Nginx server with a simple script like this. So what it'll do is it'll send 100 curls to localhost. This right here is our Nginx standard output. If I just run this file with .-limit, we can see instantly we just get flooded with requests. And I can send this over and over again so I can keep just flooding our Nginx request or Nginx server with requests. So what we're essentially doing is sending 100 requests to the Nginx server in a matter of milliseconds. And if we had an upstream server that handled this load, it could experience performance issues. So what we can do is we can configure Nginx to drop these requests before they reach the upstream server if they come across as a spam attack. So if you're curious, the way Nginx limits requests is by something called a leaky bucket algorithm. And so what this is an analogy. And in this analogy, the water is the requests, the bucket represents a queue for processing the requests, and the leaking water is the requests leaving the queue to be processed. If the queue is full and more requests come in, then the requests are dropped. In other words, the bucket overflows. To add more requests to the queue, we need to wait for the bucket to leak enough water. And so enough of that. Now let me go to show you how to actually put this in action. And so consider this simple Nginx configuration file right here, where all we really need to focus on is just this server block. And the way we get Nginx to limit requests is by using a combination of directives. And one of these is limit rec_zone, which we can see right here. And so what this line right here does is it limits each IP address to 10 requests per second for the -limit route. So let me add this right here, let's call it -limit. Let me also minimize this. So this limits each IP address to 10 requests per second, and the route we want to activate it on is we have to add it to. So for this -limit route, we have this filter applied essentially. If a client exceeds this, what we set in this limit, then Nginx will return a 503 status code. And so let me go over the arguments in this directive right here. So the first we have is the key, which is right here, which is the request characteristic that the limit is applied to, and setting it to binary remote address is a binary representation of a client's IP address. Then we have zone, which is the shared memory zone used to store the state of each request. Here we're storing how many times an IP address has accessed the -limit route in a 10 megabyte zone, and we call it myZone. And then we have rate, which is the rate limit in requests per second, or R per S. And so here we have it 10 requests per second, or 1 request every 100 milliseconds. If a request arrives in less than 100 milliseconds after the previous one, it will be rejected. And then what we have to do is we use the limit rec directive to apply it to a route. So, or specifically the location block. So now we have this limit set on this route here. So to test this, let me change this limit file right here to send this many curls to this limit route. And if I run it now, and actually the reason it didn't work is I need to refresh Nginx. So if I just do docker exec nginx-s reload, see we've reloaded now. And now let me run this again. If I run this script, we can see right here we get an error limiting requests, excess, myZone, we have our IP address, and what we're being sent back is a 503. So we can see some of them make it, but most of them are limited, and we get a 503 in response. But there we go. There's more configuration options you can apply to this, which I'll make content on in the future. I also have some cool courses, if you're interested, in the description that go in depth on concepts like this, where you can learn some cool stuff. Check out my software in the link in the description, and thank you for liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.